Incoherent response, were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought?
All right, rational thoughts are actually what we like to talk about, but I think it's a funny clip, so I play it. Welcome to the show today. My name is Doug Crow, host of the All Your Brand Show, and today I've got a mini celebrity on. Yes, he is Executive Coach of the Year in 2020 for Singapore. He's a life and career strategist, individual and team coach, author of Headstrong Performance, and the book we're going to talk about today, The 5 Energies of Horrible Bosses. Even more interesting, he's a martial artist and clairsentient. And of course, you might be wondering what clairsentient is. Well, I don't know either. We're going to have to ask him. Without further ado, our guest today, Marcel Daane. Marcel,
How's it going?
Nice to see you.
Dude, I love that clip where you got to, I wanted to do the whole WWE kind of entrance, right? Like man, it's like, woo!
Well, we can show your martial arts clip if you like. I know you're a martial artist. So.
Yeah, man. I'm like, UFC, let's go. I got this.
Yeah.
Even though I'm 56, like, screw it, let's go.
That's I think that the opening guy's taping is something from some Adam Sandler movie where he says like it's like the dumbest thing you've ever said. Yeah. And so I've watched it like 40 times now. But when I first saw it, I thought it was hilarious for everyone's sort of so important their podcast. Like, well, not really. But you're interesting. So we're going to talk about that. Matter of fact, before we get into your background, your book, I'd like to share with the audience a couple of takeaways. Like, why should they bother listening to us for the next 20, 25 minutes? What's in it for them? What are they going to learn today?
Yeah. Sounds like fun. Do you want me to do it or do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Man, I got this. Yeah, for sure. You know what? If you have absolutely nothing better to do, and and you got like, hey man, it's like I got 20 minutes to kill. This is a great place to be. But it's also a great place if you really want to expand yourself a little bit, because what we're going to be talking about today is really around consciousness and how we can use our awareness of the energy that we project onto others, and how we can use that to collaborate better, get along with each other, lead better, and do all of these kind of things. And something that this is something I've been doing for about 12 years or so. But I've always found that there was a missing element in how we connect with other human beings and how we can work together in teams and all of that kind of stuff. And a large part of that is how we connect with energy. And as you know, all beings in this universe, and actually even all objects, as we would say, we're all connected by energy. Every single object, even the rocks and the ground and things that we would consider kind of inanimate objects, they all vibrate energy. And so this energy that we have within us and the world, we're all connected in some way. And what's really interesting about this is that research is teaching us that there's some elements of this that really affect how we get along together and how we can connect together, and how that energy travels at the speed of light, and how we can connect with another human being completely on the other side of the planet, which, by the way, is super important in today's virtual world, and how we can use that understanding to just be able to have better, more deeper conversations with each other, and get to the truth quicker, right? And something that I like to call interaction quotient, which is really kind of the quality of our interactions in the least amount of time. And if you think about it, right, any organization, any company is nothing more than the collaboration or the culmination of the number of conversations that are actually happening in this organization. And the higher the quality of those interactions, and within the shortest amount of time, also means that company is going to be more productive. So your profitability of your company depends solely on those interactions of your people. And if those interactions don't happen, your company doesn't make money.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're really going to be talking about today.
Okay, that's a great answer. I got about 3 or 4 follow-up questions on that. Before I get to those questions, those all important questions about energy measurement, management, and growth, and all that stuff, Give me a little bit about your background. How did you get involved with this? Tell me about your martial artist stuff. And before you do anything, clairsentient. I want to know what clairsentient is.
Exactly. So I'm sure you've heard of clairvoyant,
Yes.
right? So a clairvoyant is somebody who sees things, right? So hence the voyance, and we also have people who are clairaudient, and they hear things, that other people just don't hear, and I sense things, and so hence clairsentient, and that's a very important skill in coaching. So for and I'm not the only one. There are millions of clairsentients out there, and you as a listener might be a clairsentient as well, right? So clairsentients are people who can really sense things that maybe other people don't catch, and every time you sense that thing, it's like getting a little punch and get a little kick and going, hey, that's interesting. I wonder what's there, and it sparks your curiosity, and that's what clairsentience does for me in my coaching, and one of the reasons why I'm deemed to be very effective as a coach is because I have a tendency to pick stuff up that maybe other people might miss.
On how did you get into that and become a coach and all that? Give me your background.
Yeah, sure. So I actually started my career off in the military. So I was spent 10 years in the military, and after the military, had a really hard time adjusting into society. I like many other people in the military. Went through bouts of depression, really struggled to kind of make ends meet, and what I learned was that something that we all have in the military is a very strong sense of purpose, right? Because we have a really clear reason why we're there, and when we're in civilian life, that sense of purpose is more difficult to connect with, right? Because we're not surrounded by people who have the same sense of purpose and the same direction as well, and so I struggled with that for a while, and I was really lucky because I had this opportunity to kind of re-educate myself. It was through kind of a government sponsored initiative, and learning a new trade, and there was one thing that I was really passionate about, and which was fitness. And so I actually educated myself, and went to school to become a personal trainer. And so I kind of started my civilian career as a personal trainer and absolutely loved it. I loved really kind of being a positive influence in people's lives, and watching them kind of improve their lives, not just their fitness, but really kind of just making an impact on their entire life. And that's what triggered me to want to jump more into kind of more life coaching and kind of space. And so I went back to school. I finished a degree in complementary medicine. I was really fascinated by kind of the health components of coaching. Went into wellness coaching for a while, and then just slowly through that process, ended up opening my own gym. I was a business owner for a number of years. Absolutely hated it, so I stopped that. But ended up becoming an executive coach and working with senior leaders, as in terms of helping them become more effective in how they run their organizations, and that's kind of how it
Whoa.
evolved for me.
Love
Yeah,
it. Wow.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
mentioned martial arts. What methods do you like or
I started at the age of 5, and the martial art that I was used to, probably nobody would recognize it. It's called Cheeto-kan karate, and it was in 1973. I don't think it exists anymore. It's and so, but it was one of the kind of first forms of karate. And I was 5 years old. I was living in New Zealand at the time, and my mom kind of forced us to do it. And back then, right, martial arts classes were different. There were no kids classes. When I was 5 years old, I was in an adult class.
right.
And so it was really funny. You'd see this whole row of kind of burly men, right? Then and then there's me and my brothers, and then there's a bunch of burly men again, and they were fantastic. I mean, the guys were
Yeah.
absolutely encouraging and
And
welcoming, and
they kicked
all.
your butt. What is it? How does it
Yes.
different from Shotokan? What I did? How does what you're
Well, actually, Chidokan and Shotokan and Shito-ryu karate, right, are actually very similar. So I ended up evolving into Shotokan karate.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, and so that's where I kind of did my formal martial arts training for many years into my early adult life. But then when I was in the military, I ended up, because I was traveling around the world because I was in the Navy. And traveling around the world, instead of going into bars and things like that, that a lot of other people like to, I actually visited martial arts schools and martial artists, and yeah, and so I was exposed to an immense number of
Mhm.
phenomenal martial artists. Like the
Yeah.
stuff that these guys pulled off was nuts.
Yeah.
And I learned through that process that we can call ourselves a world champion in martial arts, but the only reason why we're a world champion is because we haven't met those people yet that can totally kick our asses, right? And because those people are on a rice paddy somewhere, right, doing these incredible things, and they never thought of competing whatsoever, and
Yeah.
there are incredible, and through that process, that's how I was introduced also to energy work.
Yeah.
And because there's a lot of people that work with the
Oh
ki in
yeah.
Japanese,
The energy. Yep.
with chi
Mhm.
and energy, and I've been witnessed, to some really powerful experiences,
Yeah.
in myself as well. Yeah.
My Taekwondo instructor, he was a young guy, but our main guy from Korea, I think he was
Uh-huh.
an old gentleman, 120 pounds, whatever. We'd be sparring, the light tap,
Yeah.
knocked the wind out of me.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
my instructor Mario said he was at a place once where he saw a guy do something like that, and he swears he did not touch him,
That's
and the
right.
guy knocked back with the
I've
key in it.
I've
So,
actually experienced that. You see a lot of these videos, right, where these so-called fake masters, and
yeah,
and sure, there are plenty of those. But I tell you that they were inspired. These fake masters, they were inspired by people who could really do that. You'll just
yeah,
never see these people on a
nope,
video because they are out there on a rice paddy somewhere, and they are
yep,
in their village, and they are
yeah,
just practicing every single day. They don't focus on teaching, and they don't want, but they do yeah. And I've had it a number of times where I was
yeah,
punched in the chest by just pure energy. Yeah,
yeah, right. It's crazy. All
yeah,
right. So speaking of energy, your new book coming out. You can show a picture of it real quick.
yeah,
You
for
want to describe
sure.
it?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Right,
right behind me. So here it is. I can put it
there
in
you
front of
go.
the camera. There you go. So
5
it's the five
energies
energies of
of
horrible
horrible
bosses
bosses. Oh my
and
god.
how not to
Horrible
become one.
guys.
Yeah, that's right. So
So go ahead.
it,
Let's hear it. Give me the 5 energies and how to recognize them one at a time. Go
Yeah,
for
absolutely. So what the five energies really are. So I want you to think about this, right? So as human beings, right, we're conduits of energy, but we actually project different types of energy throughout our day, and we do this all the time. For example, when I'm in a really good mood, or I'm at a party and I want to dance, my energy is different from when I'm in a board meeting and I have to, explain to the board of directors, why we're for a third quarter in a row, in a net loss, right? And so we all have these different energies. The difference is are we consciously aware of the energy that we're in and the energy that we're projecting onto others, or are we unconscious about it? And what I've learned is that being consciously aware also helps us choose what energy we want to be projecting in a certain situation. And each of these energies serve us at some point, but also sometimes these energies don't serve us. And it's our ability to understand when is my energy serving me and when is it not serving me. And if it's not serving me, what can I do to shift my energy so that I can be in an energy that does serve me? So, what these five energies really are is I want you to think of a compass, right? So, north, south, east, and west. And in kind of in martial arts, we talk a lot about chi and we talk about a lot about ki in Japanese martial arts. And I want you to think of that energy as like an ebb and flow, like the ocean. So it's a horizontal line, right? And that's how east and west axis. If you think about yin and yang, right? Is yin and yang is one of them is kind of a forward moving energy, and if the one is a forward moving energy, that means the other energy is a kind of a retreating energy. And that's that east and west axis as well. Now, a forward moving energy is something that I've coined just for sake of for people just to intuitively understand what it is what I've coined determined energy. So determined energy is a forward moving energy. It's where we're determined to get our work finished. It's where we're determined to get a point across. It's our determined to be assertive. It's whatever that is, but it's a certain determination that goes into, and that's what allows that flow of energy. On the other end of that axis is then, if that's not determined and we're receiving energy, that's what I like to call inviting energy. So we're actually inviting energy in, and that's very important in certain martial arts like Tai Chi and stuff, which is all about kind of movement and relaxation, because we're allowing that flow of energy. And so in Tai Chi we flow in that same way. So that
But
inviting energy draws
these
energy.
don't sound like bad energies and horrible bosses.
No, actually, so there's no such thing as a bad energy, right? There's
Well,
just
your
energy.
title says there's 5 energies of horrible bosses.
That's right. And the reason is because for any single boss, if they're not aware of the energy that they're
Uh,
in, they might be utilizing the wrong type of energy, which coins them as a horrible boss at that moment in
Gotcha.
time.
Okay, keep
And the
going.
other, yeah, yeah. So,
So
but
we got
what I
east, west, determinist, and receiving.
And
Keep
then
going.
inviting, that's right, that inviting energy. So inviting energy is about empathy. It's about being connected. It's about, seeking points of view, seeking perspectives, seeking feedback, kind of all of that. And that's a different type of energy as well. Now, there are times in our lives where we need to be determined, and there are times in our lives where we need to be inviting. If I find myself in a determined energy all the time, then that means that people are going to struggle to get their point across to me, and they're going to struggle to even want to give me feedback because I'm not open to it. On the other hand, if I find myself living in inviting energy all the time, then I'm not gonna be able to push my vision. I'm not going to be able to drive things. I'm not going to be able to push things forward. And there are some people that get stuck in a certain energy, and they live in that energy for the most part. And that's where a lot of this work really kind of happens, is are you stuck in your energy? So those are the east west axis. Then we also have a north south axis, and that comes from in India. We talk a lot about the chakras, right? And comes from Ayurvedic medicine. And the chakras are a north south axis. And so that is a light energy, which sits at the, of course, in the north kind of sphere. And then we have a heavy energy, which is the opposite. And light energy is all about fun, is about spontaneity, is having a good time, is about connecting with people. It's like, thinking about, being at a party and, being in a really great mood. That's when we find ourselves in light energy. On the other hand, heavy energy is where we're grounded into the earth. This is where, we're more serious. We are, much more kind of disciplined. We're more rational. We like to live in a space that we call reality. In a place of, like, right or wrong. What should we do? What shouldn't we do? And that's really what heavy energy is. And so those are the four kind of outlaying energies. And then we have one more energy, which is neutral energy. And neutral energy sits right smack in the middle. And neutral energy is the way I like to describe it is that, just think about mindfulness, right? Just kind of being mindfully present in the moment. We're not moving, north, south, east, or west. We're just right smack in the middle. And so neutral energy is extremely important for us because it helps us be able to pull ourselves out of an energy if we find ourselves there, but also to voluntarily move ourselves into a different energy. So in many ways, neutral energy is the most important energy, but it's also the one that we spend the least amount of time in because we live in the other energies,
Yeah, that
right?
makes total sense.
Yeah,
You're a smart guy. I got a very serious scientific question for you.
sure.
We're able to put satellites in the air and pinpoint a spot on Earth in simultaneous orbit with GPS. We're able to go to the moon with precise accuracy and land a lunar craft there millions of miles away. And we all understand that there is no such thing as matter, right? We're all just energy. The distance between a molecule, an electron and neutron is so vast and there's nothing there. We get it. I get that energy. How come we haven't been able to measure it or have some kind of scale on all this stuff yet?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't have the answer to that either. Maybe that could ignite somebody.
We
But
need
what
to
I
work
can,
on this because everything you said I totally understand, agree with.
yeah,
I
yeah,
have my ACL healed by an energy healer, so I'm like, come on, this
yeah,
is real stuff. We
yeah,
started key energy, and we're talking about that. But people who don't read or experience it, they think we're freaking nuts.
yeah. It could be.
And
You
so
know,
if I just have some kind of, well, here's here's the tool that measures it. I'm a 2.2, and this is
Yeah.
why my knee healed, because I did this stuff on there.
Exactly.
But we don't have
Well,
it.
so there's some good news in that, and I write that in the book as well. Is that Western medicine is catching up, because we understand that the concept of energy has been with us for tens of thousands of years, right? And long before we had some form of technology to be able to see it. And one of the limiting factors of Western science is that if we can't see it, if we can't measure it, it doesn't exist. And
I don't know.
that's a bit, yeah.
We've measured plenty of things we can't see. We figured out gravity, and we did the slit test theory on whether light is a wave or a particle. I mean, there's things we have measured that we can't see.
It's
We can't really see, well, it's been difficult to see the accelerators and all that stuff. There's particles there, but for the
yeah,
most,
but still, a lot of that's still based on theory, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's mathematical equations based on theory, and hey, E is mc square, is a theoretical equation of energy,
yeah.
right? And so in theory, yes, but there's still, yeah, like you said. But I do think that there is that society is reaching a point of acceptance, right? That hey, we don't have to necessarily physically kind of see it to know that it's there. And scientists are working on different ways for us to be able to observe energy, which is really cool. There is some technologies out there where they can actually take photographs and see our auras, for example, and things like that, where we're actually being able to match the technological advances to the things that we've always inherently believed, and we're slowly but surely being able to see them to a point where scientists now are very, very close to actually being able to observe chi, right, or ki, the energy, the life force energy that we have in us. And now scientists are kind of starting to see that there's a relationship between our endocrine system and also the chakras, right? And so that there is a connection there between what Western science kind of sees and knows with regards to how the human being works, and then how Eastern energy philosophy is all
Right.
coming together. So I'm anticipating that in the next 5 to 10 years, we're actually going to fully close that bridge, and where
Right.
everybody is gonna and some scientist is gonna come out and say, "Hey, look, this is it," and everyone's gonna go, "Yeah, I knew that all along," right?
Well,
But it's still great. I think it's fantastic that we're
yeah,
able to do that, because that means it also opens up these channels to things like Western medicine, right? To the
right.
medicine practices and all, like you said, healing your knee and all of those. There's so
Yeah.
many valuable components to that, and something that when I was doing the research on my book, and I thought that was absolutely fascinating, was I was reading a piece on traditional Chinese medicine.
Hmm.
And in traditional Chinese medicine, of course, they use the whole life force qi, right? But they talk about what we call wu xing, right, which is the five elements or the five phases that kind of generate and that are involved with this energy. And in traditional Chinese medicine, what they talk about is that as human beings, we're the culmination of trillions of cells that all vibrate, and we all vibrate energy. And by measuring that energy, we can actually see how these vibrations are actually kind of indicating our health. So if somebody is really healthy, optimal health, they vibrate at a certain tune, as where when somebody has a disease, the vibrations of all of those cells are different, right? And so in traditional Chinese medicine, they know how to measure
Nice.
those vibrations. And the interesting
Yeah.
thing, what I found really fascinating about that, is they do that with personality too. Is
Uh,
what they say, that personalities, because we always had this belief that personality was something you were born with, and
yeah.
and all of it. But they don't do that. They say, hey, listen, your personality is simply the culmination of the vibrations of your cells.
Right.
And when your cells vibrate differently, you're displaying a different personality.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things that really inspired me about the five energies, because
Yeah.
it comes down to the same thing, is where I don't believe either that our personalities are fixed.
Right. You mentioned to me a while ago that everybody thinks a
Yeah,
personality is the way we're born, but you're saying it can grow. I
it
want to
can
close.
change.
We only have a few minutes left. I want to hear about the
Yeah.
bosses. How can I, if I've got a a horrible boss and I've read your book and I can recognize his energy, is there a way, maybe through quantum entanglement or just the way I listen or talk, how can I manage my boss so he's not so horrible? That's what I want to know.
Absolutely beautiful. So yes, so that's the beauty of it. So the number one thing, of course, is if you're a boss, know this, that there is somebody out there in the world who thinks you're a horrible boss, right? There is no such thing as a great boss. Yeah, and you might think of yourself as a great boss. That's wonderful, but there are people out there who clearly will disagree with you, right? So every single one of us who has tried to be a boss or as a leader or whatever is coined somewhere along the line as a horrible boss, right? And the reason is because if I live in a certain energy and I'm projecting that energy, there are people out there who are really attracted to that energy, but there are also people who are repelled by that energy, almost like a magnet. And it's very difficult for us to kind of know what energy they're attracted to until we really understand our energies. Now, if you're an employee and you have a horrible boss, there is a way in terms of how you can get along with people. That's the beauty of energy, is we don't only change our own energy, we can also change the energy of others that we're in the room with. And this is the highest level of energy mastery. And I actually run a program in that, in how to be able to do that. And I'll give you a little kind of a taster of it. The formula is, or the acronym is called NICER. And NICER is an acronym that stands for neutral energy first. You go into your neutral energy first. You then go into investigate what the other person's energy is by observing them and making sure you kind of really understand what energy they're in. Then you connect with them, which is the C in NICER. You connect with them in their energy. You meet them where they are. You don't force them to come to you. You go to the energy that they might be in. That's what that connection is. From there, you apply empathy. You connect with where they are at, but also from a place of empathy. You talk with them about what they find important and where they are stuck. And then the final one is you reshift energy. So once you've connected with them and they feel that connection with you, you invite them to move into a different energy with you. And because the connection has been made, you can shift that person into that energy with you. It's a very powerful technique, a great way in terms of negotiation, sales, you name it. It is a fantastic way of doing it. But it takes a certain level of mastery for you to master your own energy first. That's
So
what
this is I mean, if you forgive me if I'm stepping on toes here, but this is a beautiful parallel to how to win friends and influence people.
it is. It's a holistic.
All the things you just said
One.
about
Yeah.
listening, meeting them where they are, neutralizing it, and then pulling it as boom, boom. I'm re-listening to it right now. I read it every couple of years. And
Dale Carnegie, awesome. Yeah. And the book was written in what, 1937, right? You know,
I got the updated version where they reference Stevie Wonder in this. It's like an updated version. It's very quite good. We got to close out here, Marcel. Give me one big tip that both bosses. I love the one about you're a horrible boss, no matter how good you think you are. But give me one good takeaway people can do to help them manage their career or their company with the 5 energies.
Fantastic. So I think the biggest thing, right, is the understanding of conscious versus unconscious energy, right? If you are a person who lives unconsciously in your energy, it is you have a tendency to get stuck in that energy. And when you're stuck in that energy, you're also stuck in your belief systems. You're stuck in your way of operating. And therefore, that limits your level of adaptability, right? And for every organization, adaptability is key. When I look at with the whole, COVID thing, right? So the biggest thing is be consciously aware of where you're at any moment of the day. Just be mindful, and if you can do that, you're already making a huge improvement in what you're doing.
Very good. Thank you so much for being on the show today. The book is called The 5 Energies of Horrible Bosses by Executive Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Marcel Daane. Hold that book up there one last time.
There you go. That's it. Yeah. Available on Amazon and everywhere else. You're most welcome, my friend. All right. I'll see you. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Book is available on Amazon. You just click below here for the link. So get his book. He's a sharp guy, knows his stuff. That concludes our show today. Don't forget to subscribe, because there's goodies for you too if you subscribe to the Author Brand Show. This is Doug Crow. Thank you so much.